Hello, welcome to your weekly astrology update, your astro weather. And we are coming to our new moon this month. We're kind of in that phase of between full moons. This is the month we have two full moons, and it's also a very interesting month where this week we have, all the inner planets will change signs. So we're going to have a lot of things changing, busy, different, intense because we're going to have one thing kind of right after another. So it's going to be better. It's like when we opened up this month, we had those tense aspects, with Mars and Pluto and I'm sorry, Mercury. I'm looking straight at it. Mercury and Pluto and Mars, Mercury, and we had some of those tense. I mean Mars and Jupiter. There we go. Anyway, we had some squares that were kind of, some of the malefic squares and some of the intense squares. That was kind of marked the beginning of this month, but now we're heading toward the middle, and we've got a couple of interesting alignments. So we see here today. We just had our. Let's go back to the moon. Moon is just about to move into Aries. We have moon down here at the bottom of the chart. I mean, and it's just set. We are getting again close to the new moon. You can see it's getting ever closer. We're coming into we'll be like a sextile pretty much, right? So it's two signs apart. It's like right now. So we're closing in on it. It'll be at the end of the week on Saturday. So today, if we move on, the moon will move. It's like kind of most of this day probably started out with kind of maybe sleepy, foggy, mystical, maybe periods of wanting to space out or sleep or um, just getting through that little Pisces kind of moon feeling now. Well, tomorrow, we're winding down this day, but we're coming into the Aries moon period. Well, we have a few days of some action, some maybe torch our emotions a little bit, maybe get us enthused and aligned with something. So can look forward to that. So coming off of that today and then going tomorrow, we can see that the moon isn't gone over Neptune and Saturn. So we have that tomorrow. Emotions, meeting, this push pull, this stop go kind of energy. It's a little bit of we might start the day in kind of a dreamy and then hit up against some reality later in the day as it crosses over Saturn. But we start with it crossing over Neptune. So we have that kind of nice moon energy, igniting things in Aries. And then as we get over Saturn, it kind of maybe takes more concrete reality. And then Moon is then heading toward Mars. So it could get a little bit more interesting the next day. Like on Thursdays, it gets over Mars and Chiron. Could stir up some old wounds, old wounding, wanting to wound, wanting to clear out wounds, just all that kind of woundology energy. Um, yeah, be careful you don't start speaking victimese, right? I think it was Carolyn Mace that said that, we start complaining about our wounds too much and not do anything about it. I mean, it's okay to vent, but we just watch how we howl about it. All right, so expect that in the next couple days, forewarned. What else on Wednesday? Got a nice sextile with Jupiter and Mercury. So we've got um, big, as we actually just kind of see how fast it's moving. I mean, it's like right here, we're coming off of it today. Jupiter right there at 20. I'm sorry, right there at 20, and then Mercury 20, and the sextile apart 60 degrees. So that's nice. It's like kind of an opening, maybe starting to get back to projects, maybe putting um, something you've been wanting to do, make it more firm, grounding it, making it expand, uh, opening up communication lines, maybe between people or yourself or a project or something like that. So we're coming off of that. Tomorrow, Wednesday, that's kind of like still into play. And then coming into Thursday, we've got the moon closing in on what I was saying here on Mars and Chiron, so we could be into a little abrasiveness. Somebody could push your wound button. Be careful about that. It's like you just have to maybe do some more shadow work if that button is still able to hit a reflex point on you. It's like, what is here? What am I holding on to? What am I defending? What am I, having to fight for? It's on my inner side. All that kind of stuff coming up here later Thursday afternoon. So all I have on Thursday. So the moon gets ready to move into Taurus, and then also the moon, I'm sorry, the sun will be Cazimi, conjunct Mercury. So right here on Thursday, we have Mercury, conjuncting. It just flew over the sun, went over the sun. So now they're fused. So we have this. Actually, it's kind of in this whole area with Uranus kind of in the mix, being just a little bit out of orbit, but not a whole lot because this Mercury is swallowed up by the sun and we still have this energy. So it's, they're moving both of them, sun and Mercury, they're under conjunct and it's moving toward this Uranus. We got a little melting pot here starting as this energy shifts because we have both the sun and Mercury going to shift into change signs, and Mercury will be going into its own sign. So this is going to be kind of like intense, raucous, how do I say it? Raucous, is that the right word? It's stirred up, it's energized, it's, bringing things in. It's maybe communications that you've wanted, things, projects that have been on the back burner suddenly start maybe moving more to either throwing it away, getting rid of it, ditching it, dissing it, or doing it. Ditching or doing, kind of. It's like in the bin, you throw it away, get to this, I'm going to do it. And it's going to be sorted because a lot of those things that are just weighting us down and need to be just sorted out. So that's the kind of back and forth that this is going to go right at the end of the month here, as these get ready to change signs. Okay, Thursday. Where's Mars? Mars is here, Sun and Mars. We have this little group conjunction and then this little group conjunction up here. So this is kind of interesting. All right, moon has moved. Okay, next day, Friday, will move into, it crosses that stuff out. Like I said, the Chiron and Mars gets rid of the wounding and then goes into a much more happy place, goes into Taurus. It's a exalted place. So it's like, okay, if I can deal with this, then I get to go eat my chocolate bonbons. I get to go chill, relax. Yeah. And then as it makes its way toward the new moon, heading toward the sun the next day. And then yeah, a lot more stuff starts to happen. So getting ready for the Taurus new moon. Okay, it'll be 25 degrees. You see the sun here. Let's see, well, right there. Yeah, good. That's pretty close. So the moon, we have the new moon right there at the sun, and then as soon as the moon crosses over, it's going to conjunct Mercury. So then we have this little stellium there, kind of, I think it's a strong, it's, people say four planets. It could be a heavy three, so I'm going to just say that. We got this little group, this little stellium here, energy, which is really kind of nice. We get a little bit of this solidity before all of this craziness begins. So, new moon in Taurus, I think it's a really, really important to put in some stability and grounding, for this phase. I think it's important to tie your ropes down, like on ships, sailing ships, they tie the ropes off. I don't know how the exact terms, but you tie the stuff down, when you anticipate a storm or something coming in. So we got to tie this stuff down because we're going to be going into air, uncharted territory. So having things grounded, making a stable base, having things that things that are secure, stashes of money, stashes of food, backup computers, your hard drive with you, thumb drives, for a backup of a backup, having some of your favorite things, that may be hard to get. You might want to secure some of those types of things. There's all this extra Taurus type of energy. So, note to self, anything that you might need, there might be some disruptions in supplies. So things that are really important to you, you might want to secure those while we're coming into this week. We still have this Taurus stellium. Okay, Saturday. That's kind of it, with the Taurus new moon. I think it's again all about making stability, making sure you're grounded in whatever it is that you need to be grounded in. Tangible physical things, relationships, how strong are they? Can I rely on those? Is this good? Things in my life, objects, money, securities, whatever it is, making sure that that's in order. It's just going to come up. That's the big part of this new moon. Then Sunday, um, start getting some different changes of energy. See anything else I was going to tell you? Okay, so here Mercury now moves into Gemini. So it's done its thing. Now it gets to be another, twins, another kid let out of school or out of church. We had Uranus going into that sign. Now Mercury, it's like its buddy's going to join him. It's like elementary got out first, and then the grade school or the next level second. So it's kind of like getting out of school, getting out of the program. So Mercury here goes into its own sign, so it's gonna like that. I think it's gonna make things really chaotic personally, but with all of us, I would just, it's we got to use the energies no matter what. You can't go against it, but what we can do is to see that it could make things a bit more unruly. It's like if you have a hyperactive kid, don't feed it sugar, don't feed him sugar, that kind of a thing. So we've got this hyperactive kid coming, so we got to make sure that they have a good protein meal, healthy fats, enough magnesium, some things to calm this energy down. So similar thing, with all of this about ready to go into crazy Gemini. Make sure, your daily habits are solids. It's secure that you have pay attention to those physical things, good breakfast, good quality food, good habits, being hydrated, having good sleep and rest, paying attention to the different, the solar rhythms, things like that, because it's going to tend to get out of hand as stuff goes into this crazy energy. So that being said, Sunday's kind of now a different day, so because we got here, Moon is there, Uranus and Mercury now all just, and Venus now all just are in Gemini. So from the day before, just go back again. Day before, look, heavy Taurus. Look at that. Okay, one, two, three Taurus. The next day, only one in Taurus and one, two, three, four in Gemini. This is going to be a switch. This is going to be like a light switch. It is going to go from off to on. So we have this little grouping now. Just look at just change. It just floors me how astrology is like that sometimes. It just goes so quickly, right? It's going to be really fast. Boom. Now it's all of a sudden there. So interesting as we go in. We, use this energy, get yourself grounded and get ready for takeoff. Make sure you got your, things packed kind of. So interesting that so many things are going to happen. Okay, so we have one sign change. Mercury changed signs here. Of course, the moon always changes signs, but then you can see Venus is going to change signs, right? And then look at Mars going to change signs. Mars first, and then Venus the next day. So we had one, the moon, of course, and then the sun. So all of that will change. But then we can see this nice thing. This is what we're waiting for. As we get on, Venus will change signs and then head toward its conjunction with Jupiter um, in early June. I think it's on the 9th. Yep. All right, so we have that to look forward to, but then we also have a few tough squares to kind of get through. We have Mars as we go into the next, let's see here, Monday. Okay, well, before I get over to that, so we have Moon making a nice conjunction with Venus right here. So this will be nice on Monday. Mercury will have crossed that area, and then Mercury is going to be making now coming into a trine over to Pluto. So this is very interesting. Mercury first, it's going to make a trine. I mean, the conjunctions here, so things are going to get busy, and then it's trining over to Pluto. Um, I should say, well, okay, so we'll say it's trining. It'll trine over to Pluto after it makes this conjunction. What else was I going to tell you? Um, yeah, we'll just stick with that for a minute. So anyway, Mercury, um, in its own sign. Oh no, I know what I was going to tell you. I'll come back to it. So anyway, it makes a God, it's like you start your mind starts seeing all these threes and fours. Okay, so I'll just let you know that. Okay, so here Mercury's at three, right? So it just made this conjunction. So three to three over here. So it's going to, and then these are masculine signs. Masculine, those are two apart. So Mercury's going to make a sextile over to Neptune. So this will be interesting. This will be, I think, very imaginative, very much for bringing ideas out in the open. This is where you can, Mercury now is, I think, got kind of the upper hand. Although Neptune is kind of, it's ready to go. Mercury is going, and then it's just directing Neptune. So it's got that energy. I think this is where if we have ideas, we have things we want to bring out, this is where it's going to happen because we have that imagination, and then we have this Uranian movement, because they're in 2 degrees off. It's still a wide, um, I mean, it's a pretty narrow sextile. So we have this energized area with Uranus and Mercury. Okay, so this mind, communications, computers, AI, technology, whatever you want to say in these early degrees, in this imaginative time over with Neptune. All right, so that is there. And then we have kind of a push-pull over with the moon nodes. Um, Even though they're both like, well, we've got a mutable and immutable, so they're squaring. Mercury here is also in the bends of the moon nodes. So we've got in the bends is like in the midpoint. They're all uh, mutable signs. So Mercury would be in the midpoint of that. So it's in a little tight spot with maybe, think about the moon nodes, you know, what you're, it's the balance point there, maybe of what you're giving out and what you're receiving. Maybe it's a whole redo of your mind. It was like, am I receiving enough? Am I giving out enough? Is there a balance in this? You know, with the where they are with the compassionate North Node in Pisces, am I sending enough love and compassion to people and things? And then am I organizing and structuring a lot of my, things in my life and organizing, not keeping too much stuff that's weighting me down on the South Node side. So I think this Mercury time here, it's going to help us all to organize and coordinate a lot of that. So this is going to be fast, but you can see how it's all of a sudden bing, 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 boom. Lots of things happening at once there. And then the next day, when Venus moves over into Cancer, this will be next, will bring us up to next week. Well, if there's anything else I was going to tell you here. Oh yeah, the Mars changes signs. Okay, there it was. I'm not going to do the degrees, but you can see right there. Mars, was it just? Yeah, not even a whole day. Like less than that, Mars goes and then Venus goes. So they both change signs. Mercury had changed signs. Sun is about to change signs. So we've got a lot of things shifting. Wow. All right, so before we end this one today, look at Venus right there. This is kind of nice. Okay, so Moon was nice. It went over, let's just go back a few hours because this is kind of cool. Um, Moon went over Venus before it changed signs there. Let's go about half a day, I think. There we go. All right, see, so here the moon. Okay, no, Venus did change signs first, but then the moon gently passes over it. All right, and then where's Mars? Okay, Mars is already gone. Okay, let's go back a few hours, see when the fun begins. Okay. Monday, 6:40 p.m. Eastern time. Okay, so Mars goes first, um, and changes the flavor and goes into the to solid earthy Taurus. I think this would be really good. Um, Mars has been, I mean, there's been this Aries energy, and I have Mars in Aries, and it's a very interesting. I mean, it gets things done. It's to the point. It moves stuff, but then it can be a little bit over the top. I think some signs are better in their exaltation than sometimes their own sign. Mars is one of them. I think Mars is better in Capricorn than it is in Aries. And Mercury, another one. I think Mercury is better in Virgo, where it's exalted, than it is in Gemini. It gets a little, I think, nervous and over the top. So anyway, Mars going to change flavor. So it will be. trining a exalted place. We could put it that way, but it'll kind of give it more solidity back to making. I think this will be the action to put those things that we wanted at the new moon, those solid things in place. I think it will help us carry through with our actions and not tend to get so scattered out by the barrage of Gemini coming in. All right, then Mercury or the moon here goes over Venus. See it right there. Both of them are 28 and then look at 29. Oh my goodness. And then yeah, Venus goes first. Look at that. Very interesting. So they're both together. So this is really nice energy. Late Monday night, coming into Monday night as they change signs, and then there they are both going into where, this is really nice because the moon right there is in its home sign, right? And this is where Venus, it's happy there. It's not an exalted place, but it's still a happy place. All right. So very nice. I think this is kind of maybe a good fortuitous as we start heading over. The moon will then cross over Jupiter, which will kind of, I think, if you keep that momentum of bringing forth positive things and don't give it into the negativity, this is going to bless you. So there we go. The moon is, over Venus, heading toward. Well, I'm back with the hours. Okay, so let's just go back and get this up top. And then just one more day, and then a couple things before I want to head you up on before the end of this. All right, so here we are with Venus. Moon's passed over. Moon's on its way to nice, benefic Jupiter. Now we have the sun about ready to change signs. We'll see that in next week's forecast, but you can see that now forming. We'll have this trio in Gemini. Um, I think again, Mars will bring up this still a little bit of a Taurus. I think it's going to be a pleasant anchor, um, a better, a less edgy energy and a more solid, sustained energy instead of that Aries energy there where it's going to kind of shoot its wad. It's going to make it slow. It'll weigh it out and be more conservative in its doling out of energies. That's a good way to say it. All right. What else was I going to say? Okay, so as we get this group here of planets coming into, with the sun coming into its sign change, and then it will have a conjunction over to Uranus. They were all being trined over to Pluto. So this is very interesting. I think this is going to add some elements of I don't know. It's kind of a little bit of hopefully divine timing, divine protection, divine help, maybe. And I think it's just important that we communicate that, because we have these outer planets and inner planets, the sun involved in this nice little trio here of air energy. Okay, what else was I going to tell you? All right, so we're here on the 19th, and then here's the 20th. 21st, late the 20th, early 21st. There's the trio here we got. We'll show you this next week. But a couple things to mark on your calendar. As we go on near the end of the month, on near Memorial Day, we will have this Mars. You can see Mars here in Taurus. It'll get closer to 5 degrees. It's going to square over to Pluto. So let's just look at that. So Mars, Pluto, intense and let's see, intense and need to be able to control your emotions, or you may attract violence. Ooh, learn to back off and realize that others do not feel as intensely as you do. Wow. That's what this computer program says. Yeah. Well, we'll dig more into that next week, but that's intense. So put that on your calendar. I'd think from like, 24th, 25th, 26th, 27th, right in that time. Just really watch that. But then once that's over, then we'll be getting closer to there's past. Then we'll be getting closer to the Venus. Just watch over here, Venus and Jupiter. So we get closer to that. We'll find the exact date. I think it's the 9th. There it is, 9th. All right, so that's what we're going to come to. This is going to be really nice, as well as some other things. But Good to know. Good to know stuff. And that's it for now. Otherwise, it kind of gets to, I think, astro googly, too many things to keep track of. So, grounding, making solid purposes, using that dreamy energy this week, putting that mercurial energy to work, and then Mars and will come and make it solid and follow up with your actions, things that you make solid this new moon. Mars will have the energy to carry it through. All right. More to follow. Thank you for being here. That's all for now.